Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us here on the program today. We've got a lot to get into today. Dropping earlier today, the South Carolina basketball program. They have not been playing well on the court. Now they're having to deal with things that are off the court. Yes, the Gamecock basketball program put on probation today by the NCAA. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. We'll talk about the matchup from last night, South Carolina, Mississippi State, if you want to get into that. Clemson, no problem with the folks from Wake Forest. The COVID pause does not affect the Clemson basketball team as they held Wake Forest to 39 points yesterday. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we are a couple of tomorrow when we come on the air, we're 25 hours away from the start of the South Carolina Clemson baseball series. And I tell you what, man, you look at this series, two teams that are 3-0. Clemson not yet ranked in the Baseball America polls, but they can, if they can win this series with South Carolina, they'll jump right into those rankings. So it's kind of the bragging rights are always important, but this is something that could help you out later on down in the avenue of when we get to Selection Monday for the baseball tournament. If you can look back at your non-conference schedule and if you're a Clemson team and you've got a win in a series over South Carolina, or if you're South Carolina, you can beef up your resume a little bit with a win over Clemson this weekend. So it's not one of those series that it's the end all be all, but winning it is important. It really, really is. So we can get into that this afternoon. Also, report out of LSU with Les Miles that was kind of out there. And it makes you wonder if there's more to come with where they're being investigated for issues with sexual assault and stuff like that at LSU. I don't think they're the next Baylor where, it was a culture of that, but an interesting story coming out of LSU with that. We'll talk about that this afternoon. But first, let's talk about South Carolina. And they got put on probation today because if you remember, former men's assistant coach Lamont Evans, according to the NCAA, he has violated ethical conduct rules, according to a decision released by the Division I Committee on Infractions today. Here's what South Carolina gets. And it sounds like it's bad, but these are all self-imposed things here that South Carolina pretty much put out there they were going to do anyway. 2 years of probation, a $5,000 fine, which was self-imposed, a reduction of men's basketball official visits to 25, a prohibition of unofficial visits in men's basketball for a total of 4 weeks during the fall of 2021 and or 2022, prohibition of men's basketball telephone recruiting for a 6-week period during the upcoming next season. And then you've got a reduction in the number of men's basketball recruiting person days by 17 and a 10-year show cause for the former assistant coach. During that time, any NCAA member school employing him must restrict him from any athletic-related duties unless it shows cause why the restriction should not apply. So that affects Lamont Evans, who's not there anymore, to be completely honest with you. The DOJ and the NCAA found that Evans accepted, according to the report, approximately $3,300 to $5,800 in bribes from individuals associated with a sports agent. So the full statement from Ray Tanner and the full statement from Frank Martin are up on the website at foxsportsradio1400.com. I could sit here and read them to you, but it's probably written by an attorney and it would probably bore the heck out of you. But that's kind of the way it is with these kind of things. I don't think it's that bad for South Carolina. It's pretty much they kind of knew this was going to happen anyway. Level 1 violations generally are not good, and they got hit with them. And it's come back to you knew something was going to happen, and this is the end of it right here. So if you want to talk about that, if you want to talk about Frank Martin last night and how, I don't want to say he's throwing his players to the fire, but I don't know, man. It just seemed like he almost blamed the loss on the players last night, which, yeah, I mean, that's a part of it, but I think they're just ready to get this season over with. They've got 2 games left. They got to play Georgia and Arkansas. And by the way, Arkansas right now is looking like a heck of a basketball team. I mean, they beat Alabama last night. They've been rolling pretty good there. Not even just with the fact that they beat Alabama, the number 1 team in the SEC. I think that, and my buddy Kevin Fitzgerald from ESPN, he disagrees with me. But the reality is that I think Alabama's a fraud. I really do. Kevin thinks they do great things. Arkansas beat them up and down the court. Made them look silly last night. Justin online says, hey, I told you they wouldn't cover the spread yesterday. You know what? Are we at the point this season where will the Gamecocks win another game? Georgia's been playing not like great basketball, but they're playing pretty good. And then, as I said, Arkansas is rolling. So with that, South Carolina is kind of on the downslip. Are they just going to limp to the finish? We'll take calls on that at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call. Clemson, by the way, I mentioned that they beat Wake Forest. They beat Wake Forest yesterday. And Clemson, by the way, is their schedule the rest of the way is pretty, it looks pretty good. Clemson right now is 14-5 in overall, 8-5 in ACC play. The rest of their schedule is as follows. They've got Miami at home, Syracuse on the road, and they've got Pittsburgh at home. Pittsburgh just lost their best player, by the way. So it's like the seas are parting a little bit here for the Clemson Tigers. They're ranked, I think, 5th in the ACC, could possibly move their way up. Bama Boy online is Arkansas shot 37 free throws to Bama 6. We played bad. Look, I'm not saying that it wasn't a bad game. Maybe Arkansas is just a bad matchup. Like LSU is when Alabama plays LSU in basketball, Alabama is a horrible matchup for LSU. But people talking about Alabama's a legit Elite 8 team, I'm not buying that. They have one night where they can be off shooting the 3 and they can be beaten. They really can. Now, if they can shoot the ball like they did in those couple of LSU games they played where they hit 6-8 threes in a row to start the game or something in the first game of the year when they played them, they're going to blow a lot of people out. But it's hard for me to put hope into a team in March when the games mean more, when you're so reliant on that 3-point shot. My mentality with hoops in March is it comes down to a couple of things. Do you have senior leadership or upperclassmen leadership? We can go with juniors. Okay. And do you have the ability to do 2 things? Do you have a backcourt that can control the pace of the game? And can you rebound? Those are the 2 big things, or 3 big things. If you've got those things, you can compete in the NCAA tournament. You can definitely do that. Brock says the only thing that is fine about this season is an NCAA violation fine. It just seems like South Carolina it's like they're limping to the finish. And it's sad because I thought that with the guys that they had, with A.J. Lawson and Cousinard and Seventh Woods and all these guys, I thought they were going to be a lot better than they are. Seems like they lack that inside punch. (803-978-1832), 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the rundown. One other note that you missed earlier today, Texas A&M, their athletic director went online, did a Facebook Live video saying, we plan on being at 100% when it comes time for football season. LSU, by the way, has said the same thing. I wonder if down there in Birmingham, where the SEC offices are if they're like looking at this and they're like, hey, maybe you should wait on the conference. LSU and Texas A&M are apparently like, yeah, we don't care. We're just going to do what we got to do. Now, by the way, I think everybody's going to eventually do that. I just think that it's maybe they should have waited a little bit before they went out with that. Couple of notes from some guys online. Bama Boy says they have issues when the three is not falling and they can't rebound. Yeah, I said that earlier this year. Blake says, why don't other coaches in the league take note that Nate Oates benches players if they shoot anything other than threes and layups? That's a good point. Another note there from Blake. Mississippi governor announced he's easing restrictions next week, so baseball fans are coming back. By the way, they're doing the same thing with the ACC. They say they're reevaluating for the ACC tournament if they're going to be able to allow more than just parents and personnel. You may have 3,000 fans for the ACC tournament. So there's that. And, with the COVID-19 stuff, and not to go off on a tangent on this, but I know that after I understand that there's certain school districts that after spring break, they're going to go back to maybe 5 days a week. That's kind of what I'm hearing. So if the students are back in school, I would think by September, things are going to be, we're going to be thinking back to last year. What I mean by that is before pandemic. The athletic director for Texas A&M did say, yes, we may be in the stands with masks. If you have 100,000, I'm not trying to pile on him here, but if you have 100,000 people in a stance, how are you going to enforce everybody wearing a mask? Who wants that job? That's not going to work. But I do think on the positive front, it looks like things are starting to teeter where we're going to get back to a point where it is more of a pre-COVID like phase. I'm thinking by the time we get through, I said 50, 75 the other day. I mean, I would kind of be shocked if we weren't at least 75% for September the 4th. So there's that. Brock says Notre Dame, they don't want to be in the new EA game. By the way, there's another school that doesn't want to be in the new EA game, and that would be Northwestern. Northwestern has decided, hey, they're going to take the same stance as Notre Dame. I think I put out there how I feel about that. If you could sell your likeness as far as from the university, you could sell your likeness from the stadiums, etc., your logos and all of that. That has nothing to do with the students, man. Just saying. Blake says wearing masks in the summer heat is a death sentence. Yeah. I mean, I say curse, but I have my beard, which I've had for when I got out of the Coast Guard. I decided that I was not going to have two things happen to me. I was not going to shave every day, and I was not going to get my feet wet as far as if I had socks on, because I was on a boat where I would we'd have water slosh up there, and it's every day your feet are wet. And once you go through basically a year of that, I decided when I got out, I'm not shaving, and if my feet get wet, I am angry. But I say this on this front, I have the beard now, and the idea of wearing last summer when we were in the pandemic, wearing the mask during the July and August when the air is thick as peanut butter outside, it was not good. It was not good at all. So I'm not looking forward to that this year. So there's that too. Anyway, if you want to get back with us on what you think about that, do you think we're going to be at your percentage? Where do you think we're going to be as far as with fans in attendance? And would you go? Because there's still a good section of people that are like, I don't care what happens, I'll go. And there's a section of people that are like, I'm staying in my house. I've got a couple of my friends that they work from home and they literally don't leave their house. They have their food delivered, all of it. They, I haven't, the only way that I've seen them is via video message. That's pretty much it. So there are a section of people out there that feel that way, that they don't want to be out amidst COVID and everything else. And I think we've got to get to a point where, I think it's what 70% of vaccination would basically be herd immunity. That's kind of where we got to be. And I don't know if we can get enough vaccine made out there. Blake says the Pac-12 is at a 25% max. I think maybe if you're talking about basketball or baseball, we'll see. Speaking of baseball, the ACC tournament up in for baseball, the ACC announced today they're going to have their tournament in Charlotte. So if you want to watch the Clemson baseball team in that tournament, they're going to try to see how they can get with the government and make sure that they can follow whatever government standards they have there. Yeah, that's pretty much what you got there with the ACC tournament, but it will be in Charlotte this year. So interesting stuff there. If you want to respond to anything we've talked about today, 803-978-1832. Tomorrow on the show, Quarterback U. Which school is now the modern day version of Quarterback U? We've done wide receivers, running backs, defensive backs, and defensive ends. Now we're getting to a point where we've got quarterbacks. So there you go with that. Mr. Bloodline Online says the Razorbacks smoked Bama last night and it feels so good. There are a lot of folks out there that there's a lot of hatred for Alabama football. When Alabama starts succeeding in another sport, it's like people just get completely fed up. It's like, look, you've already dominated on the football end. Now you've got, a team that's going to win the SEC in basketball too. That doesn't happen a lot. When you think about it, there aren't very many teams in the SEC or the ACC that win in football and basketball in the same year. Alabama wins one more conference game, and they're going to do that. They're going to own the conference in basketball and in football. And you know what? Their baseball team is ranked 24th in the country by Baseball America. If they can string the catch, whatever it is, the term that they have there, if they can do that and win baseball, oh my goodness. Had the SEC championship in 3 different sports, man. There's a lot of fans from the SEC West that are just like, stop it. They take a little bit of with what Mr. Bloodline said there. It feels good if they can actually beat Alabama in basketball. So to kind of cover up for what the football team does. All right, we'll take a quick break and we come back. We'll have more for you on the rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, I did see that. They're still ranked 24th in the country, though. Michigan is QB Pew. That's great. I do agree. Oklahoma's going to be QBU. I mean, that's not that far fetched. No, nobody. No, Jed. Jed. No, Jed. What up, Greg? How are you, buddy? Appreciate you guys stopping in today. Who almost lost an eye? What are you talking about, man? I don't think he's going anywhere. To be honest with you, I don't think that the seat is that hot. Never talk crap in the bathroom. Wow, that's some funny stuff there, man. Welcome back to the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. My name is Rob Sanders, and we appreciate you guys joining us here on the program today. 803-978-1832. Blake asked online, what are the odds on Frank Martin remaining at South Carolina? I don't think Coach Martin's going anywhere. I think that right now it's just going to be looked at as, all right, this is a COVID year and we'll go from there. They're going to lose some of their recruiting. They're not losing scholarships. They're going to be on probation. I get that. But I don't think Frank Martin's going anywhere. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832. I have to put out there some quarterback stuff from the NFL. We'll start with Deshaun Watson. The world's losing their mind over this tweet. Deshaun Watson put this out 11:57 this morning. Loyalty is everything. Don't you ever forget it, with ever capitalized. I don't know what that means. I do know that the Houston Texans are sticking by, we're not trading Deshaun Watson. They don't want to give him up. Now, I don't know. That's as I said yesterday, their general manager and their coach need to figure out where Deshaun Watson is, set up a meeting with him, look him directly in the eye and say, can we fix this? That's what they need to do. Get into the same room with him. Enough of this stuff where you're firing this across the water and you're having your agents talk and all that. No, get your general manager in the same room as Deshaun Watson with your coach. Can we fix what is broken with you? And if not, then you need to move on. Because if Deshaun Watson is point blank saying, yeah, I'm not going to play, and there have been some different reports out there, I don't know if they came from Watson or not, that he may not suit up at all. So there's that issue too. And if he's not going to play, then how do you benefit by keeping him? Go out there and get some of these trade deals that people are throwing out there. Anyway, let's go back to one other note here. Russell Wilson, apparently, according to Adam Schefter, has said that he wants to play in Seattle, so that's good. That's good. Still wants to play there. As Russell Wilson still wants to play in Seattle, that's, as I said, is good. He has not demanded a trade, but if a trade were considered, the only teams he would go to are the following: the Cowboys, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Bears. So there you go. There's your four teams: Cowboys, Saints, Raiders, and Bears. If you are looking at the services of Russell Wilson. So there's that. Now, if that happens, if he's going to go to the Cowboys, what about Dak Prescott? You know, when Prescott, I think he's kind of grown on me as a quarterback. He really has. And if it weren't for that big injury he had, it was, there's a good opportunity that, Dallas would have been, I think, a heck of a lot better this season. So going to the Bears, though, for Russell Wilson, that would be interesting. Some folks online saying I wouldn't take anyone over Watson except for Mahomes or Rodgers. You know, I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, and I love Aaron Rodgers. But in my opinion, Aaron Rodgers is at the point where he's got 3 years left in the league, in my opinion. That's about where he's at. Deshaun Watson is 25. And if I had it my way, I would it's pretty much him and Mahomes. And maybe Josh Allen up with the Bills, who this season finally looked like he knew what was going on. Like they say the game slows down for you a little bit. I think the game finally slowed down for him, and he looked like an absolute beast up there with Buffalo. So there's that. I'd go with those three if I'm going with young quarterbacks. I've never been a fan of Russell Wilson as a quarterback. I don't know why. I just think that he just, I don't know, man. I mean, I guess he wins enough. Blake says it's because Prescott runs over linebackers. Yeah, Prescott's a physical quarterback. So, yeah, you have that too. I'm ready for all of this to come down to an end, though, and get us into a point where we know what each team has, and then we can go from there. By the way, Major League Baseball, I think they have their first spring training games here in the next little bit. That's going to be fun to watch. I'm all about the spring training games, man. Blake says, Rodgers just keeps marrying younger and younger girls. The whole thing with Danica Patrick was amazing to me because I think Danica Patrick introduced him to the woman that he married while they were, I don't know. Aaron Rodgers is also an interesting case in that he doesn't talk to his family, which to me is, he doesn't talk to his family because of problems with, like, they said something about one of his ex-girlfriends, and he's not with that ex-girlfriend anymore, but he still doesn't talk to his family. Rodgers is a very interesting, weird dude. That's pretty much the only way that I can put it out there. Justin asked if Russell Wilson will move on from Seattle. I don't know. There's talk about it. He doesn't want to trade, but he put out there, if you don't want to trade, but you're like, if you're going to do it, I'll go to these four. Maybe the thoughts entered his mind a little bit. Maybe he's not completely happy there. Jimmy asked if I like Baker Mayfield. The answer is no. And I'm not completely sold on Kyler Murray either. That's true. That may be true there, Mr. Bloodline. That's why he doesn't talk to his family. Yeah, I can definitely see that as well. All right, if you want to call and chat up with us about any of that, are you willing to go to a football game this fall? Are you at ease enough to do it? There's people that aren't. Texas A&M's AD says, yeah, we plan on being at 100%. 100%. That's pretty interesting. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call. Brock says Watson is the greatest quarterback that Clemson has ever had. Trevor Lawrence may have more talent, but Watson had something about him that made him the best. There's a lot of people that say that. And I think one thing that Clemson's going to have to deal with this year, they started spring practice yesterday. We'll talk a little bit about this after the break. I think Clemson football fans have been spoiled. And what I mean by that is that you've had two great quarterbacks in a row. Yes, I know Kelly Bryant was there, for one season basically. But you've went basically Watson and Lawrence back to back and then into Ugunglele, who steps into big shoes, man. And he looked like he knew what he was doing in the couple games that he got to play in last year. So we'll see how he does. Also, some folks that aren't participating in Clemson spring practice. We'll tell you about that when we come back. One defensive end has decided to leave the team. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we come back here in a moment. On the rundown, of course, you can always reach out on Twitter. I'm at Rob Sounds Good. And podcast is up every day at 5 o'clock. My name is Rob Sanders. As I said, this is the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, they they do the majority of the games on the ACC network. Yeah. I had like this thing with Watson that when he was on the field, I never had a doubt that Clemson could win every game that he played. I mean, after his freshman year when he came in and did the stuff that he did, there was just this, he had an aura around him that was like, we ain't losing. And the first time Clemson played Alabama with Watson under center, that was the game where Nick Saban ran that fake or the onside kick or whatever it was. Something Nick Saban doesn't do a lot. You still had Deshaun Watson on the sideline, and he was looking at Saban like, "Let's go. I'm going to move down the field." You know. So now Lawrence, on the other hand, was special too. But for me, that's a tough thing to go there. Watson's had injuries to his knees. I think he's had 2 ACL surgeries, if I remember correctly. So maybe you can talk about maybe a health front, and Lawrence has never really been injured, hasn't really missed much. And they both just seem to be good people too. I mean, you can't really go wrong with either one of them, to be honest. No, Georgia won the arrest last week. We talked about that last night on the show. Oof. Not good, Georgia. Not good with what happened there. Clemson would have beat OSU with Watson and probably would have come close to beating LSU last year. Trevor's not on that level. Okay. Yeah. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is a bum. Let's make sure we put that out there.
Listen to win weekdays between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. on Fox Sports Radio 1400. And for a chance to win an extra $1,000, log on to foxsportsradio1400.com/survey.
Well, welcome back to the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world in the iHeartRadio app. Coach Dabo Swinney met yesterday with the media and talked a little bit about some guys that are leaving the program, are going to be limited in practice as they got underway yesterday. And Swinney said Justin Foster, the defensive lineman who graduated back in December, has decided he's just going to move on. He didn't really play last year due to having asthma and COVID and everything else. But he's decided that he's going to head on off into the business world. So there's one player that is obviously not going to be participating in practice. One of the others is there was a list of players here. Swinney says Landon Zanders, KJ Henry, and Balin Spector are out for the entire spring due to surgeries. Reserve defensive lineman Itanosa Rubin and reserve defensive lineman DeMonte Capehart are expected to be out for the first half of spring practice. On the offensive side of the football, lineman Matt Bokhorst and Davis Allen are also expected to be limited, and receiver Justin Ross will practice on a limited basis as well with no contact. He's expected to, quote, have a big appointment on his health status going forward in March, according to Swinney. Ross had surgery last year after a fusion was found in his neck and spine, and still has to be cleared for full contact. Sweeney also said that some players are missing part of the practice for COVID-19 protocol, although he didn't tell us about who any of those players were. So as Clemson starts their spring practice, there's some of the interesting things about players that just aren't going to be there. Brock, cracking on the Georgia folks, does Kirby Smart take recruits to the police station on their visit? I bet he'd say, outside of the weight room and practice field, you'll spend most of your time here. That is a savage take there, sir. Savage take. Ross, by the way, if he comes back and he is he's going to be really dependent on. There's lots of talk about Frank Latson and Joseph Nagata and all that, but Ross coming back is a big deal and should help kind of buffer a little bit there with DJ Uiagalelei getting himself squared away and ready for the year. So, yeah, we're going to see how that works out with Clemson. So, if you want to call up and talk about that with spring practice, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call. If you'd like to join us here on the rundown this afternoon on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Of course, around the world on the iHeart Radio app. This was just posted a few minutes ago. Deshaun Watson reportedly has reiterated a trade demand to the new head coach. Dan Grazzano reports Watson met with new Texas head coach David Culley last week. During that meeting, Watson reiterated that his stance has not changed and he has no intention of playing for the Texans again. Oof. Big words there. If he looked the coach in the eye and said, "Hey, I'm not playing," yeah, that's not what you want. But here's the other thing too. He signed a contract in September of last year. If the Texans can hold his feet to the fire, they really can. But Deshaun could say, "Hey, you know what? I'm just not gonna play anymore." That's a heck of a thing to give up at 25. They got him under a 4-year contract, though. So there's that. Just reading this report from Dan Graziano from ESPN, where Watson met face-to-face with Culley and said point blank, I'm not doing that. This is like the biggest stalemate ever, by the way. I'm not doing this. Well, I'm not doing that. What a standoff. Millions and millions of dollars. And the entire league is affected by this. Because if he goes to the Carolina Panthers, who have put $30 million worth of cap space away, all right, that's going to change the shape of the NFC South. People like Tom Brady and the Bucks, New Orleans with the Saints, they're going to have to deal with Deshaun Watson with the Panthers, both teams twice a year. He may not win both of those games, but it's still going to change the shape of that division. If he goes to the Bears, it changes the shape of the NFC North, who the Bears seemingly have a great defense every year. Their offense is just not very good. Watson fixes a lot of that. And what happens if they swing a trade and send him? What are some of the other suitors? The New York Jets? That changes that division. Miami Dolphins. These two groups of people, Watson and Houston, are basically controlling a lot of what's going on in the NFL right now. I think I'm with what Brock said earlier online. Tired of the Deshaun Watson ordeal. Just, you know what? Just tell us, hey, this is what we got to do. You got to figure it out. But if he point blank told his coach that, wow, Houston's in a world of hurt right now. World of hurt right now. All right, so thanks to the folks watching us over there on YouTube here on Fox Sports Radio 1400, of course, WCOS AM in Columbia. If you would like to join us on the phones, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. We talked earlier about South Carolina being put on probation and losing last night at Mississippi State. Man, just been a tough year for the Gamecock basketball program as they got 2 games left. Georgia at I think they have Georgia and Arkansas. I can't remember if one of them's home, one of them's the other way. So you got to figure that out. But either way, man, it's just not what you want there with the Gamecock basketball program. Kind of a year to forget. They could finish the year with 5 wins. Now, I know that it's a COVID year, but 5 total wins for the Gamecock basketball program. It's kind of how that looks right this second. All right, out to the phones we go. Welcome into the Rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Rob. It's Ray. How you doing?
Hey, Ray. How are you, man?
Oh, doing fine, man. The weather's great, I tell you. Just kind of wanted to respond on the Gamecocks last night. Man, what a pitiful performance. And I just want to, respond on a couple of things. I know I heard Coach Martin talking about, Trey Hannibal, which I think he's been one of the better players of recent, which I don't know is saying a whole lot from that team. But the fact he said he just gave him the day off. AD, if I'm Tanner, I'm having Coach Martin in my office, and he's gonna have to explain that to me a little better. I mean, do you disagree with me? I mean,
I don't. Giving him the day off may be the polite way of saying, yeah, this guy has said some things in practice or whatever that I didn't like, and we're just giving him some time to think for himself. I did hear that. Hey, he's giving him the day off.
But anyway,
how does that happen?
I guess my thing is this team is already depleted as it is, and you're the coach making $3.25 million a year. You do realize Martin makes well over $1 million than Brownell a year?
Yeah. Well, Frank Martin's been to the Final Four though, sir. So.
Well, what's he done in between though?
I get that, but in theory, he doesn't. It seems like he's cleaned up the program a good bit. Now I know they're on probation, but what they're being put on probation for is a coach that he had no clue that this was happening. I truly believe that was getting paid by an agent to have the players basically sent to this agent. So and I don't think Frank Martin knew anything about that. So, but other than that, I mean, he seemed to have cleaned up the program a good bit. It seems like everybody graduates, and generally they're competitive. But this year, not so much.
Well, I'm not putting that on Frank Martin as far as the probation. That I don't. But what I do put on is recruiting these kids, and I just don't think we have enough good players, and I think that's where it comes back. Now, Frank Martin, he's a great character. He's a good.
Let's be honest about this though. You've got 2 guys. Cousinard is thought very highly of, and AJ Lawson. I mean, I've seen mock drafts where he's been picked in the 2nd round. So you've got some talent there. You don't have anybody in the middle. You don't have a big inside presence right now. Can you imagine this team with that guards that they have? If they had Mike Kotsar down there doing the dirty work, it'd be a completely different team.
If they had Kotsar, they would be probably another bubble team again. But yeah, you're right about that. But and to be fair to Frank, COVID has hit him hard, and I'm willing to give another year or so to see what happens. I'm not calling to say fire Frank, but I do think that the folks over there at university, when they say that what they've been doing is par for the course, well, you got to up your par a little bit. You got to have a little bit better expectations and say, well, this is the same old Gamecocks. If you want to be the same old Gamecocks, then get some young up and coming coaches you pay about $1.8 million a year, and let the guy go out there prove himself, and then give him a raise. Or if you go to a bigger program, then so be it. Right now, I'd rather be the program that gets that really good young coach I hate to say retread, but the coach has kind of already proven himself in other places. That's just me, Rob. Thanks for letting me talk, man.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. Let's think about this for just a second, though. We appreciate him calling and joining the show. I don't think that, and I'm not a money guy, but with what they just paid Will Muschamp, do they want to pay Frank Martin too? I mean, do you really want to pay Frank Martin to go home and not coach? Just saying. I don't think that's the absolute thing there. Blake says about Auburn basketball, they can't get in the NCAA tournament this year because of probation. So what if they win the SEC's automatic bid? I don't even know if they could play in the SEC tournament. I'll have to look at that. Jimmy says the post player with the most experience has not played at all this season at South Carolina. Yeah, they don't have anybody that can do like the Dennis Rodman type work. That's the best way I can put it. Guy that'll get down there and just get rebounds, get garbage buckets. Michael Carrera, I remember him with South Carolina. A guy like that. They got a bunch of shooters out there. They got plenty of those. I mean, they're not knocking a lot of them down, but I think AJ Lawson's a good player. Cousinard's a good player. You would expect more from Minaya, I guess. But I don't know, man. It's almost like you're playing Mario Brothers. I think I said this yesterday. You're playing Mario Brothers and you just want to hit the reset button. So there it goes with that. Quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show. This is the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, I don't think they can play in the tournament. I'm looking that up right now. I think it's a complete postseason ban. Yeah, it's a full postseason ban, so they're not even going to play in the SEC tournament. So that's funny.
being diagnosed or died from ovarian cancer, call talcum powder help now at 800-833-0112. 800-833-0112. 800-833-0112.
Paid for by Bar Justice.
iHeartRadio, #1 for music, radio, and podcasting, all in one app. And this week is True Crime Podcast Week. Discover the best of the best, like The Apology Line.
Yeah, we can do that out of the break. Hold on. Final segment of the rundown this afternoon here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Blake asked if I could give him kind of what a seeding for the ACC tournament would look like. So the ACC right now, if you look at the, I'm pulling up the your standings right now. Have Florida State at the number 1 seed. Virginia right now would be 2. Virginia Tech is at 3. Louisville is currently at 4. Clemson right now is at, 2, 4. Yeah, Clemson's at 5. They're tied with North Carolina right there. Followed by Duke, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, NC State, Notre Dame, Pitt, and Wake Forest. Now, here's the thing. Clemson's last 3 games of the season, they play a 7-6 Pitt team or Syracuse team that they pretty much handled up at Little John. They've also got a Pitt team that's won 5 games but has lost their best player, and they got a Miami team that's 3-13 overall. So with that, you would think that Clemson should be favored in, I would say, all 3 of those games. It's tough to win at the Carrier Dome. Let's say they drop that game and they finish the season, 10-6 in conference play. The ACC bracket, the way that looks is the way the bracket sets up here is that the top 4 seeds don't play on the first couple of days, I think is what it boils down to. So Clemson wants to move into one of those top 4 spots. As I'm looking at the bracket here, let's see if I can pull that up here. Here we go. Yeah, if you're the 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed, you don't play until Thursday. So your first round games are on Tuesday, where you have 12, 13, 10, and 15, 11, and the 14 seeds. So you get a double bye if you can be one of the top 4 seeds in the tournament. So with that, Clemson wants to try to move into that. As far as where teams are right now, I mean, getting that double bye is a big deal. There's a lot of teams that are right within that 1 to 2 game window where they could jump up past the Tigers and Louisville, who's only played 11 games. Clemson's played 13 conference games. So there's that too. My best bet, though, is with Clemson's schedule and with how they looked pretty good against Wake Forest. I think that 3-0 the rest of the way is not that far-fetched. I think that 2-1 is probably, not a pie in the sky type theory. If they do that, they should finish right up there in the mix for one of those top 4 seeds. Florida State's going to take the number 1 seed overall, though. Virginia Tech should also be in the mix. All right, more of the rundown tomorrow. Lawton Swan is next with Clemson Sports Talk. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us here on the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, there's so many teams that are right there in the mix, man. It's going to be hard. But I think I'm going to write that up. I'll put that on the blog page at foxsportsradio1400.com. And give you guys a window on that. Thanks for checking out the show, man. Click the like button. We appreciate you guys. Have a good day. All right.